G'day guys, well today I'm going to do an oil and filter change on my ZD30 and my GU Nissan Patrol. Now this is probably one of the easiest jobs that you can do when it comes to self-maintenance, so let's get into it. So just before we get started here, you've got to make sure that you've got the right consistency of oil that you're going to need for your vehicle. Now you can either check through your owner's manual, or as I've done, I've just jumped on the Penrite website, and this has given me the oil that I've always used, the 10W40, which is the right oil for my vehicle. Now I know it's going to use about a bit over 8 litres, so I've got a 10 litre bottle here, which is going to be plenty, so I know I've got enough to fill it back up. And then when it comes to oil filters, well, I'm a stickler. I always use genuine oil filters when it comes to doing my oil changes. And then I'm also going to put an engine flush through this. You've got plenty of rags on hand because it's a pretty messy job. So we'll pour this in, start the engine up, we'll run it for about 10-15 minutes, then we'll jump underneath and empty that oil out. Righto, so this just goes in this filler cap here, so I'll just take the cap off, put that up there, put that in there so I'll make sure I don't pour any down the side of the motor. Undo that cap, and then I'm going to pour the whole contents in here. Let's empty the whole lot. There we go. Now I'm going to run the engine for about 10-15 minutes, and I'll get underneath, drain it all out. Righto, so I'll switch the engine off, let the oil settle down for about 5 minutes down the bottom down here, so it's all ready to come out. Now I've got a 22mm socket here, which is the right size socket I need to pull the bung out so I can drain the oil out. But it's just a good idea to put that engine flush through because it just cleans all the contaminants out. And there we go, let's snap that. Now I'll just undo it. Now the thing you want to make sure is, make sure you got this bucket lined up underneath this when it drains out, because I've made the mistake before. One of the first times I did this, I drained it, didn't have the bucket quite lined up, and where'd the oil go? All over my garage floor. So here we go. There we go, nicely lined up. So now I'll just let that sit for whatever it takes till the oil all runs out. Put the bung in, and then we'll go and drain get the oil filter off. The other thing I've got here too is I've got a washer that I've put on this bung that I get from when I buy my oil filters. I get these copper washers that come with them. They're well worth putting on, or some sort of washer, so make sure you get a good seal when you screw it back in to your sump, then you won't get any oil leaks. Nearly finished draining that, just give it a little bit longer, still dripping out there, so I'll just wait a little bit longer and we'll put the bung back in. Put that bung back in there.
I'm no qualified mechanic, but I do enjoy what backyard mechanics I can do.
Yeah, just do them up hand tight with your fingers, get it right in there. Don't ever use ratchet guns or anything like that, especially on some plugs. The last you want to do is thread that thread, and then you're in all sorts of trouble. So let's do it up by hand first, then get your socket, crank him back up. Got that nice new brass washer on there that comes with me filter. Tighten that up until it's tight. One more. There we go. Swipe off any of that excess oil. Righto, next thing, drain that oil filter, get that out. Righto, so now when it comes to getting to my oil filter, rather than trying to get down through all the parts of the motor and that sort of thing to get to the oil filter from inside there, I go in through the wheel arch. So again, to give me a bit more room to get in through there, because it's quite easy when I do this, all I do here, I just jack this up under here, under my rock sliders. Get it up in a minute. Righto, get me some room in that guard there. And then just for that extra safety, I'll put one of these under there and drop it back down so it's sitting on that. There we go. Now that's sitting on there, pure safety for when I climb in under that wheel arch to get my oil filter out. Alright, just before I go and undo that oil filter up top there, just bring my drain bucket over and make sure that's going to catch any oil that's going to come out of the top. And then I just get a bit of newspaper here, just crunch up a bit of newspaper, and just on top of these couple of brake components here that are on top of the diff, I just cover them up so they're not going to get covered in oil and gunk when I pull that oil filter out. Righto, we'll jump up the top and get that oil filter out. Yep. So much easier now with that car jacked up a bit. There we go. Undo that. coming out of there. So much easier coming in this way than trying to climb down through the top there, in amongst all the engine components. This way, it's just so easy. Right, I should be able to get it in hand now. Take that out. Just unscrew it until it starts dribbling oil, then I generally leave it for a little while. Let all that oil drain out. Make sure it's being caught by the can down the bottom there, which it is. One oil filter canister, ready for a new one. Right, so I've got that oil filter and the casing out now. One thing with these is got an O-ring that goes round sort of the edge of it here. You've got to make sure that O-ring is fully intact when you do take it out, because you don't want to find out this is broken and you don't realise, and then you put the new O-ring on and there's still a piece sitting inside the housing inside. So make sure that O-ring is fully intact before you take that off and get the new one out. So we'll just take that casing, the cartridge out of there. It gets a bit messy. And on the bottom here, there's a keeper, a holder for the oil filter. Make sure you take that out and keep that. Because otherwise, if you don't, that's what holds your new oil filter in the bottom of the casing here. So we're just going to give this a bit of a clean out. Let's get a rag in there. Yeah, there's a screwdriver there and get that old O-ring off. There we go, that can go over there. So all I've needed is just a socket, that just goes straight in the end there like so. And that's what I used to undo, get that off. So that's all easy done there. Now to put the new filter in. Get the new filter, and most importantly, new O-ring. So let's get that keeper. Squeeze that into there. In there like so, and that clicks into the bottom. Make sure you hear it click in, and then it's not going to fall out and rattle around. And then that hole there's a insert inside the oil filter which goes in there, and it'll hold the oil filter nice and tight in place. Righto. And just grab a bit of oil, just going to lubricate this with the oil you're going to use, just to lubricate that new O-ring up to make sure it slides in nice and easily when you do put the new casing back inside. So put that over the top. And here's the other thing too, you got to make sure that gets embedded into the groove it's meant to go in. I've made the mistake once before where I didn't have it quite, I was at it, setting the groove up here, screwed my oil filter in, start the engine up, oh hell beauty, and oil starts pouring out. I thought, what's going on there? But I put it in the wrong slot. So again, you learn by your mistakes. So make sure it's in that bottom slot, and it'll be all nicely sealed up when you go and start your engine up. Righto, time to put this back in there. Get that new filter going in there. And they're a pretty big thread in this, so they're pretty easy to line up. There we go, that's going already. But just take your time and make sure you get it all lined up where it needs to go. Put up as much as you can by hand and then finish it off with the socket. Righto, let's get that in there. Righto, that's tight now. Give it a nip up and job's done. And down. There we go, how easy is that? Now to fill him back up. Now, we're all got different ways how we like to do things, but for me, I like to climb right up inside here. It just makes it easier when it comes to filling it back up. Undo that. And make sure you use a funnel of some sort to get the oil back in there. Now, I know this is going to take a bit over 8 litres to fill this back up again. And I've got a 10 litre bottle, so I'm going to put at least half of it in for the now, and then I'll check it and see where we're at by the dipstick. So, let's start pouring it in. Glug, glug, glug. Tell you what, diesels just love clean oil. Absolutely love it. That's why I use a good brand of oil. I've been using this one for years and it's been fantastic. Righto. That's a good start. We'll let that settle for a bit, and I'll pull the dipstick out, and we'll check that and see where we're at. All right, I'll take this dipstick out, we'll have a bit of a look. Now with this first one, let's give it a bit of a wipe first, because all the oil's been running down the stick before you get a true reading. So I'll put that back in there, pull that back out again, and let's see where we're at. Yeah, not even quite touching the stick yet, so we know a little bit more to put in. Right, back up in here we go. Us little blokes, bit hard to get up and do this stuff from the ground, so just easier to climb up in here. Get the cap off, and we'll put a bit more in there. Yeah, it's probably not going to take much more until it starts to register on that stick. So we'll just do a little bit at a time. Can let that settle and see how we're going with that. Put that stick back in. Righto, we're about halfway up the stick, or a bit over halfway. Well, actually nearly full there. So what I'll do, I'll put that stick back in, pull that filter funnel out, put the cap back in, start the engine up, run for a couple of minutes, and that way it'll fill up the oil filter, and then we'll recheck it and see if we've got to re-top it up from there. Righto, I have topped it up from that first initial fill. You can see that's sitting nicely now on full, right where it needs to be. Just perfect. That's how I do my oil and filter changes on the old Patrol. So now it's ready to go out in the bush, and fair chance, might see you out there I reckon. Catch you later on.